Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing something really fun and celebratory, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, but this is both my 1-year anniversary on YouTube and my 100th video. When I saw it was also my 100th video that I'm going to be putting out, I was super excited and it just kind of perfectly aligned. So to celebrate, I'm doing something a little different today. I'm doing a Q&A featuring your questions that you sent me, combined with the Reintroduce Yourself tag that's been going around and I've been wanting to do, so that we can reflect on how far things have come. So be sure to stick around also until the end, because I'm going to be going over a giveaway as a thank you for all your support this past year, and it's an indie out of print deck. So let's get right into it. It's going to be a long one. So how I've structured this is I have the categories from the Reintroduce Yourself tag, and all the questions that I received from you I've woven into those sections. So the first section is the basics. So the first question is, where are you from? So I am from upstate New York. So picture New York City in your mind like everyone normally does, and just know that that's not the part of New York that I'm talking about. The city is literally a fraction of New York State as a whole, and the rest of the state is literally upstate, so that is the part where I'm from. Question number 2 is, how did you come up with your YouTube name? So it is based on my name, an old Instagram handle that I used to have at the time, and I really didn't know a better name to come up with, so I kind of borrowed from there, and yeah, and that's kind of it. It's nothing fancy. It's just simply me, Simply Han here on this channel, simply talking about the tarot. The next question is, how long have you been reading tarot? Since 2018, so that makes it 7 years now, and I can't believe that 7 years has flown by so quickly. But yes, since 2018, I have been reading the tarot. The next question is, how did you get into reading tarot/oracle? And I really appreciate the /oracle because I was originally watching ASMR and I came across a channel that did weekly / week ahead oracle card readings, and I really loved the messages that were coming through and how amazing the reader seemed to just channel these messages and how calming and natural it all felt, just the atmosphere of it. And I thought to myself, well, I think I should do this for myself. I think I could do this. And that really opened up my world and sent me down a rabbit hole but I did originally start reading oracle cards first instead of the tarot. And so that was my segue into tarot, and it's been great. It's where I am now and I couldn't be happier. The next question is, do you read for others? So I mostly read for myself, but I will read for friends and family here and there when and if they ask. I think I'm just not brave enough right now to read for others, because I feel like the messages that are connected with them, like having to do that, then being able to go on with my day without like the residue, since I am very empathic, it just sounds like, I don't know, difficult to me. And ensuring the messages resonate. I know not every message or, part of the reading will resonate, but I just have this huge fear of, a skeptic coming in and haha, told you so kind of moment. So I think, I don't know, I'm just really intimidated by it right now. There's a couple of books out there that I want to read first, because I think they give better understanding and context to reading for others, and I think that would help boost my confidence a little bit. But right now I pretty much read for myself, and again, family and friends, because I am comfortable with them. And so the next section of this tag is all about decks. And the first question in this category is, do you use oracle with tarot? The first question in this section is, do you use oracle with tarot? Yes, I do, all of the time. It's definitely really fun to experiment with different pairs, and I find that it adds more context and layers to a reading. I don't always pair them together. Sometimes I'll read with just tarot, sometimes I'll read with just oracle. It really depends on how I'm feeling, what the question or moment calls for, in my opinion. But yeah, I do combine them together. The next question is, how many decks do you have? And I had to go through and count because I haven't kept up with my inventory sheet, but I currently have 88 decks, which, looking at my shelf, and I guess I kind of give away the answer to the next question, but it doesn't seem like it's that many on there, but because it's not a very big shelf, but I have 88 decks, I guess. that segues into, where do you store your decks? So my dedicated bookshelf right here beside my desk, I do keep them in their original boxes. I did go through a phase of like getting bags for my decks, but I just ended up putting the box inside the bag and then it started to like not make sense for how I store them. So now I just keep them in their original boxes unless they didn't come with a box or the box got really damaged, then they'll go in a bag. And I have a very small section on my top shelf for my bags. I do want to get some hooks to hang them on to free up that little section there for other things, but yeah, mostly in their boxes on my little tarot shelf. The next question, I was really happy to see this on here, but it is, what do you look for in a deck? And for me, what I resonate with the most when I see a deck is its story, its unique story. That can happen with the concept and the idea, or it can happen within the artwork, or a combination of both. I look at what perspective it has and is it different from anything else that I have in my collection. I try to get things that are really different from one another. Not that I don't have overlapping themes or art styles, but I really try and look at what's unique out there. What is its story? What is it trying to tell me? Because in there lies a purpose for it in my collection and what work we could do together. The next question I also found equally intriguing, and it's, how would you describe your deck collection? I thought about this for a little while, but I would have to say it's intentional. My collection feels deeply curated. Each deck has a purpose or is finding out its purpose, has a story or a connection to me and my evolving practice. I'm not just here to collect decks just to collect them, and that's not to say that others who do that, like, that's completely fine, and I find it fascinating and interesting, and I love seeing what decks other people have, but mostly I'm here to build a relationship with the decks that I choose. The next question is, do you have a go-to tarot and oracle deck? And I guess I should have grabbed this before, but hang on just a second. So the JK Tarot is my go-to when I'm not sure what deck to use. It is an RWS clone. And I am a mood reader, and so I tend to follow how I'm feeling with what I use for a specific day, a specific moment, or if I have a planned ahead or very intentional reading, I usually kind of pick out those decks at that time. But if I'm unsure of how I'm feeling, if my mood is just like, I don't want to have to go through that process of choosing, sometimes decisions are, even small ones, are just not easy for me. I kind of default here to the JK Tarot when I can't decide or I'm unsure of what I should use, because it's a great rendition of the classic RWS. I love the colors. The colors are like me. This is, I believe I've described this as my perfect RWS tarot like clone, and I stand by that. I love the color, I love the saturation, the overall vibe. It's a very like happy deck. Not that it can't, you know, deliver tougher messages, but I don't know, it has this like vibe of the creator here. He's just very smiley and gentle and, I don't know, approachable, so I tend to gravitate towards this as my go-to deck. For Oracle, I don't really have a go-to. I think it changes. Right now in this moment, in my current practice here, it's the Mystical Shaman. I find myself reaching for it to kind of pair with everything or just to use on its own. Typically, I don't really have an Oracle deck that I go to. It's more tarot. The last question in this category is, do you rehome decks? If so, what determines if it leaves your collection? So yes, I do rehome decks. I think I've mentioned it a couple of times, but only in the context of, hey, I rehomed this, but I brought it back into my collection. And to help me further like avoid that happening, I have a little bit of a system now that's not too different from Lisa Pepez, but I do have a limited space to store my decks. So if I feel that me and the deck have completed our work together, or if it's not resonating anymore, I will put it in a purgatory pile and revisit it every so often and make decisions based on what I'm feeling in that moment when I revisit that deck. If I even thought about the deck while it was tucked away, those factors really go into whether or not it leaves, or if it stays in purgatory a little while longer, or if I bring it back out and put it on my shelf. The next section here is your practice, which is one of my favorite sections. But the first question is, what does your tarot practice look like? Daily, location, tools. When do you turn to the cards for answers? My practice definitely has its ebbs and flows. Most days I do have a daily and nightly practice that I do. So at bare minimum, I'm touching the cards at least twice. But sometimes I might go a day or two without interacting with my cards at all. I do my readings right here on my desk, or if I'm feeling, especially for like my nightly stuff, I will do it right in bed. If I'm doing a daily or nightly pull, I don't typically use any tools. I just use the decks themselves. If I'm doing a more specific and targeted or truly intentional reading, one that I put a lot of thought into, I have time and energy to sit down and have like a full session, I may pull in incense, oracle decks to use in tandem, crystals, my pendulum, candles. And lastly, I turn to the cards for advice, not answers. And I never expect answers from the tarot. I seek the cards in order to understand things better, which is something that I try to do every day. And so I turn to my cards frequently for that reason. I don't ever expect answers. As we know, sometimes we don't get them or they may develop over time. So for that, I just seek the cards pretty much daily just to interact with them, check in with myself, and to better myself and grow and in context with myself and the world. So the next question is, what does a typical tarot reading look like with / for you? And let's pull back the JK tarot here. My go-to typically looks like this. So after shuffling and I get a jumper or one that sticks out, I place it in the middle here. Then once the jumper has jumped or it prominently sticks out far enough that I'm like, okay, this is the one for the day, I stop shuffling and I set aside the top card that was last on top and then the bottom card that was on the bottom at the time. And I always put the top to the left and I always put the bottom to the right. And I then conduct my reading. I don't know why. I have just a need to pull the top and the bottom alongside my card. I can't ever just have one. It's very rare I have just one card. Even in my daily pulls, this is the format I go to. It's just what's most comfortable, and I like the added context of the top and the bottom of the cards. You can read those many different ways. So yeah, that is my typical everyday reading. It's short enough, but it provides just enough context at the same time. It's like that sweet spot. So my next question here is one from a subscriber who left a question from Junk Journal Treasures. I see this person all the time commenting, so thank you so much for submitting your question. They have a few, but the first one is that they would love to hear more about my practice and how I read. It's really hard to articulate in a few sentences, but my practice is very intuitive, reflective, and deeply personal. I don't follow rigid systems. I kind of go with the flow. I don't use tarot and oracle for predictive reasons or ways. It's more about checking in with myself, connecting to my guides, my higher self, and really creating a space to listen and to receive. I, as I mentioned, read with a mix of tarot and oracle, and I often pull cards as part of journaling and meditation. And now I'm starting to shift into really getting connected with seasonal rituals and the wheel of the year. I found myself wishing, and I might have spoken about this, I can't remember, but I am not a summer person and I dread summer. I just don't like I don't like the heat, the humidity where I am. It adds a layer of discomfort. I'm more of a winter person for preference reasons and sentimental reasons, but I found myself wishing away the entirety of summer. And I was like, you know what? I didn't want to do that anymore. I kind of had a reality check with myself. Time already passes so quickly, and to purposefully wish it to go by faster or skip ahead, I don't want to be in that frame of mind anymore. So now I'm starting to bring in more seasonal things. That's something new for me, and I'm really enjoying it. It's helping me be a lot more mindful, have a lot more gratitude for where I am now, presently. But my practice is quiet, it's solo, it's very deeply rooted in curiosity and inner dialogue and intuition rather than trying to get it right or match it up with a definition. I let the imagery really sink in and speak to me, and I value the emotional intuitive resonance more than anything. So I hope I did your question justice. But alongside of that question was, what are a few of your favorite guidebooks? So I have a few here set aside that I want to go through, and a few I'm just going to verbally mention, but I kind of tried to put these in categories. So these are my short but impactful guidebooks. This is Tarot of the Crystal World, and this is the Home Oracle. And what's really great about like Tarot of the Crystal World, I know people will look at this visually and they'll be like, oh, like just kind of want to toss it aside. But honestly, man, this one is got punchy one-liners in here, and they always leave me like thinking, like they get my mind spinning. Let's say for the Three of Swords here, and we all know the Three of Swords so well. It's one of the most distinguishable cards in tarot. And it says, betrayal is your companion. Despair is a flood of undirected emotion. Like, it just kind of hits you and slaps you in the face, but very like profoundly. And you feel like you're talking to that sassy, wiser, older person who's lived through a bunch of crap and is just speaking the truth. They're not mincing words. They're just laying it all out there, but they are still like enjoying life and having a good time. So that's this guidebook. And then this one is so much different. It has a different tone and a different vibe. These are like little open-ended, expansive, poetic prose is how I would describe it. This has made me cry on multiple occasions, but I will read a sample. A state of purity without bias will help your mind be open to everything that comes your way. When you see someone you have difficulty reconciling with, I invite you to try. Feel a reunion of two hearts as if it's the first time you met. Life is too short to let things pass you by because of fear. Like, oh, that one always makes me bring out the tissue box, and it's really wonderful. The next category here is how I wish other small white books would be, because these are truly a showcase that they can be small and mighty, but fantastic at the same time. And so I have the Spacious Tarot guidebook and the Cosmic Seeker Tarot guidebook here. And there's so much in here, but not too much. The Spacious Tarot is very expansive anyway because of its point of view. It just gives a good introduction, understanding major arcana. That's nice. They give resources here for you to check out. A little bit of understanding the minor arcana with the different suits, the numbered cards, the definitions here of numerology. Another resource here, court cards, an overview of court cards, a note on gender, how to read, a spread, notes on reverse. So like really, really nice. And honestly, you guys, look, it took 23 little pages to do all that. And then it gets into the meanings. And for every card here, there are keywords, the main messages, and then just the way it's written. So the Magician invites you to become conscious of your creative abilities and commit to using them with intention. I like that. It invites you to, I don't know, it's just very nicely structured. And the minors, while they have a little bit less, it's still there. Like, they didn't give up on the minors, and I appreciate that a lot. So really just, I wish all like little white books were like this, because it doesn't take up that much real estate. It really doesn't. And you can have all of that in there. And then the Cosmic Seeker is another good example. It might be a little bit more concise about the deck, how to use it, the author. I always think this should be included in all guidebooks, future projects. That's always nice. So a little bit more slim on like, there's no about numerology. There's not anything about majors or minors. It just kind of hops in. But look at what you get. So this is the Fool. So much. Sorcerer. So it goes through a lot here. And it reads very beautifully. And the same, so like, again, the minors are a little bit less. It's not a full 2 pages, but just 1. But again, they didn't discount the minors, and it's still a compact package. It'll still fit in there really nicely with the deck, and it didn't take up that much real estate. So it is possible, and I just wish this is how all the guidebooks were kind of structured that came in this format. The next category here is good questions for expansion. And then that's when Olga speaks. I really love in general the structure of this guidebook, and if you want a more detailed mini deep dive into this deck, I did do it on my Substack. I will be sure to leave it in the resources portion of my description so you can access that. But each color category here is an archetype, and it has a spread centered on that archetype and incorporating questions surrounding that archetype for you to explore. And then with the cards, we have a really nice description here, and it's very wide and expansive. But then what I really like is on this page here, you have keywords, and then there's always a bunch of questions, journaling questions. You could actually use these as a basis for a specific spread if you wanted to. So it just has a lot of great questions for further expansion after the reading is over or even during, but you can come back to and revisit. And I just really appreciate that a lot. And the next and last category here are comprehensive. So even though Spacious and Cosmic Seeker Tarot guidebooks were small and mighty and packed in, and that's really great, and it has a purpose, and it kind of hits all the points in one. But I find that these guidebooks are truly pretty comprehensive. So the first one is Earth Magic. Sometimes it gives history. It talks a lot about what each card truly represents. Again, bringing in some history here. And then there's like a narrative portion here in italics. It's a story. It's putting you into the card, almost like pathworking. I don't know. This is another deck that has kind of made me cry. It's just very, very wonderful. It has a lot in there, and it always leaves me feeling okay. Even if I pull the tougher card, it always supports you. It's always there for you. And that only comes from it being pretty comprehensive in the descriptions. The next one that's really comprehensive, and this could be true for all seasons of The Witch, but this is the one I have, the Ostara. But this is chock full of introduction, using the cards, the themes of the specific season, repeating elements to pay attention to in the deck, using the cards beyond the season that it's in. I really, really appreciate that. Daily guidance or reflection, guiding light, falling cards and reversals, creating an altar for this specific season. So Ostara is this one. And then there's always so many spreads. Like so many, and I appreciate that a lot because sometimes I am creatively like I want to do something different from my norm, but I don't know what to do. And this book it has so many suggestions here. And then actually getting into the meanings, we have keywords, we have the little phrase here on the actual card repeated, and then it really goes into the meanings and connecting with Earth Magic ceremony. Sometimes there's some of these things that you can do, little extras, like energetic cleansing ritual with the Aquamarine card, which is all about emotional cleansing. So there's like ritual things that you can do. It's quite expansive. So it takes it from reading the card to putting it in practice. And I really like that. It encourages that. I guess technically Zeke's Arcana probably should have gone into the small but mighty and how I think other guidebooks should be, because it really covers the gamut here. I really like when creators put in extra stories here about the creation of the deck. It has reading the tarot, terminology. This is really great for beginners. Layout of the tarot, and it has like full snippets of the cards here and the extras, reversals. And then the way this specific guidebook is set up is really interesting. So it goes into numerology here and knowing your court cards, really great to have, knowing your suits, and it talks about the different suits. And then it goes into the minor arcana meanings, very short and sweet. Just enough, I think. And then we go into the major arcana where there's just a little bit more. There's like a little story here in italics and then a very brief meaning. And it's just enough. And then towards the back, we have the extra cards, but we also have spreads to try. Nothing, groundbreaking per se, except for Zeke. Zeke, Your Own Adventure is a really interesting one that I've done before. Really great. Very unique to this deck. And then what I really love that Zeke's includes is this creative process. So you can see like the storyboarding, the visual process of creating the deck, how it started. It's just very fascinating. And then lastly here, Radiant Wilds and Wild Whispers Oracle. They really have truly great, expansive, comprehensive guidebooks. So much so that I annotate in them. And this has its own breakdown. She calls it the atlas, which is just each card has these different components in it. And the Wild Whispers does this as well. It's just more like alchemy based. So each card has a direction, and it tells you it's the main themes, the legend, so it's the imagery of the card with detailed description, which we love, the upright meaning, the reversed meaning, and a tip, which I think is really, really, really great. And unlike others, the minors get the very same treatment, so they get just as much. Beautiful card. So those are some of my favorite guidebooks. And just to mention like actual books that are not tied to decks, 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack, that really helped bring me into The Fool's Journey, was really helpful in me starting to understand the tarot as a storyline, and setting it up that way really helped my brain a lot. I am currently reading my way through The Holistic Tarot by Benabel Wen, and that's been really fantastic and awesome. So that's a great resource. Do not be intimidated by its size. You just kind of dip in and out of it. And then Liz Dean's Ultimate Guide to Tarot was super essential to me as a first resource, and really truly learning the tarot as a first time reader and beginner. That was a really, really great resource for me. Okay, so moving on to the next question by another subscriber, Stilted. They say, I'm new to tarot and your channel. Welcome, thank you so much for being here. And they say, maybe you've already covered these, but what method do you use to read the court cards? I really like that question. So there's a few different ways that I work with the court cards depending on the question, the context, and my intuition. I really have three main buckets. The first one is aspects of self. So using the court cards as mirrors to me, myself, or you as the reader. It's not like a fixed label, but they're more like roles or moods or personas that maybe you are expressing. And rather than pointing the court cards, they're other people, the card may represent how I am showing up, my energy, behavior, mindset, attitude in that given moment. Other times I use them or interpret them rather as stages of growth. So each court can symbolize a specific stage in personal development, a life phase, or like even a level of mastery. So the page is about new beginnings, learning, discovery. They're very curious, they're very naive and very open. The knight is about exploration, pursuit, and challenge, and they're very driven. They take risks, and they're sometimes reckless because of that. Queens are inner mastery, wisdom, emotional depth. They are very receptive, very caring, mature, and they have this embodied knowing to them. And then kings have that outer mastery, which juxtaposes the queen and makes them a really great pair. And they exemplify leadership, responsibility, that command, decision-making, authority. So really bringing in like stages of growth and personal development and just different life phases is another way I interpret the court cards or read with them. And then another way are like kind of archetypal roles in a situation. So it's more about how someone is functioning in a particular context or relationship. So this is about the part you might be playing in a dynamic, or it may or may not reflect who you are in the situation. It can involve archetypes like caregiver, mentor, rebel, the knights like challenger, and especially in spreads where it's more about like interpersonal or relationship dynamics. And it can apply to me, myself, or if I'm specifically using the tarot about a situation that involves others, that could be representing them as well. So I hope that helped answer your question. It really just depends on, again, my intuition, the context, the question, and all of that. But those are the three main ways that I really work with the courts right now at this time. Again, that definitely could change as I continue learning. And then your next question, Stilted, was if a deck has extra majors, do you generally use them, or is it a case-by-case basis? And it's definitely a case-by-case basis, depending again on the energy of not only the deck, but me and my intuition. Will I be able to discern what the extra card means when it shows up in a reading? Does it really pull me in and invite me to use it? Does it want to be shuffled in the deck? I kind of let it be up to the deck and my relationship with the deck and just how things are feeling. So yeah, it's definitely a case-by-case basis. The last question in the category centered around practice here is by Kate from Moonflower Moments. Thank you, Kate, so much for your questions. One of them was, what advice would you give to new tarot readers about trusting their intuition? Oh man, this is a good question because honestly, I still struggle with this. So if you are finding it hard to trust your intuition as a new reader, or even someone who has been reading like me, know that you're not alone. Intuition can be very subtle, quiet, or even inconvenient at times because it doesn't always tell us what we want to hear. But as annoying as it can be sometimes, my experience, it is never wrong. Even when we're in denial or we're resisting it, intuition tends to know the truth before we're really ready to accept it. So trusting it doesn't always feel easy, especially if you're used to, maybe you're more logical, or like all humans really, all we seek is a sense of control. But the ironic part is intuition isn't about control. It's really about noticing and listening and allowing. So my advice is to be gentle with yourself, let it build over time. You don't have to get it right or put additional pressure on yourself. Just pay attention. Just be observant. Be a student of your own intuition. Pay attention to patterns, the nudges, soft yes or no that shows up in your body physiologically, in your heart and your mind and your soul. And over time, as you build with it, it starts to feel more like a relationship versus like a sideshow like performance that's going on with the clapping monkeys. So moving on to the next category, which is centered around YouTube and TarotTube. What kind of content is your favorite to post and watch? So I truly love making application-based tarot content, not just admiring our decks or sorting them into really fun categories, though that's really like enjoyable too, and it has a place, but actually really diving into how we work with the cards. What does that look like day to day? What does it feel like to sit with the cards, to listen, to reflect, to integrate it into our lives? I feel like we get very stuck in our fantasy selves and what we see in our mind's eye of what we wish it looked like. But what does it actually look like to integrate it into a real life busy day where a person has many responsibilities, many tasks to do, where our energies fluctuate? Like, how does it fit? So for me, tarot and oracle are not just tools to collect or to curate, but they're part of how I live and how I think and how I grow. And the integration part is super, super important to me. I could talk about it for days. I could do so many videos about it. But I'll be honest, the videos that showcase that don't always perform as well as like top 5 decks for summer, top decks for fall, which I completely get. The listicle type videos are really fun. They're really quick. They are quick to watch. And they're great for discovering new decks, for seeing new decks that maybe you haven't before, or being reminded of old ones. But I keep making the other kinds of videos as well because I just know there are people out there who are looking for more than just that aesthetic piece of the practice. People who want to spend time with their decks and deepen their practice and see it as not just a hobby, but a true companion to your life. And then quickly, outside of TarotTube, because I do consume TarotTube videos, obviously, I spend a lot of time, they're kind of like smattered across different areas, so it's interesting, but I spend a lot of time watching homebody vlogs, just like introverted people like me vlogging their days, no matter how small or silly or boring it might seem. I just really into that. Journal and planner content, always a solid choice, especially and then a segue off of that is videos about like fountain pens and inks, because I have fountain pens and inks and I love that. BookTube, I always get down a rabbit hole there. And then honestly, like using YouTube as to put on some like lo-fi cozy background music. Perfect. Love it. That's kind of what I'm into there. So the next question is, how did you get into creating a YouTube channel? And then this kind of ties in well with another question from Kate. What made you decide to start your channel? So I'll kind of touch on both of those right now, but I've truly wanted to create content for a very long time. But honestly, I really didn't think my voice or perspective was valuable enough to have like a whole dedicated channel to it. It felt like, did I have enough to say? Was it the right thing to say? Would people resonate? Would they connect? There's already so many people out there doing it and much better. But my partner really encouraged me. They told me just to throw everything I had at the wall and to see what sticks. Because if I never did that, if I never tried, then I would really never know. And so going off of that, I created this channel for the quieter, shyer folks, the ones who don't, and I don't want any extroverts to take offense to this because as I'll get to, I think the overarching purpose, like you're included too, but the ones who don't have anyone in their real lives who connect with or understand tarot, or who want to understand and accept tarot, or that you read it. It's for the people pleasers and empaths who are curious, but afraid to ask questions. They don't know where to go. And instead of not having any resource at all, I wanted to kind of create my own home base, a community space where they could belong, because I am one of those people as well. I say this more generally, but I've never felt like I belonged anywhere. And I think a lot of us feel that way. I just, growing up in childhood, I just have very explicit memories of being left out and excluded on purpose, and the pain that comes with that, and literally carrying that with me everywhere. But TarotTube, although it has its nuances and its own politics and issues here and there, it's truly been a community that has provided a lot of solace and companionship for me. And I wanted to offer that same sense of belonging to others, to say that even if you don't have everything figured out, or if you're still learning, or if you're shy, or if you're introverted, or if you have a lot to say, you have a lot to say but nowhere to say it, you do have a place where you belong, and that place is right here. The next question is, knowing what you know now about YouTube/TarotTube, is there anything you would do differently? One thing I would definitely do differently is I would start sooner. I wish I had taken that leap of faith, like the fool, much earlier, instead of letting that Eight of Swords hold me back. There was a lot of fear and self-doubt tying me down. But looking back, I realized that those fears were mental prisons that I put there myself, exactly like the Eight of Swords. So if I could go back, I would remind myself that the only way to grow and find my voice and use my voice is to step out and give it a start. You don't have to have all the answers right away, but just start, and start now. The next question from Kate again at Moonflower Moments is, what advice would you give to new YouTubers? And I really like this question. Very thoughtful questions, Kate. My advice would be to be patient and kind with yourself. Growth doesn't happen overnight. Obviously, we're all here to build a community and have people join us along the way. The purpose is for subscribers to be here, and that doesn't happen overnight. And it's really easy to get caught up in comparisons and numbers, or lack thereof. So focus on showing up consistently, sharing your own unique, authentic voice. Like, don't make it into something that it's not, and connect with others, connect with the community. That's what really matters here. And I would say also not to be afraid to experiment what feels right for you, and to help that lead you in finding that, and knowing that your perspective is your greatest asset. It's not like anyone else's, no matter what intrusive thoughts you may have that doubt that. But every creator starts somewhere, and the important part, as I've been talking about here for the past few minutes, is just to start. So that technically ends the reintroducing myself tag, but there was one more question that I thought would be a really good ending question before we hop into the giveaway portion. And this question was from Goldbone, and their question was, how has this journey over the last year with YouTube impacted your study with the tarot, the things surrounding the subject, and has it changed your outlook on some things that maybe you didn't expect in the beginning of your journey compared to now? That's a very loaded, very, very thoughtful question. So this past year on YouTube has completely deepened my tarot practice, not just in terms of studying it, but in how I live with my cards. Having to articulate what I'm learning or how I'm working with certain energies has made me more intentional. I spend more time sitting with ideas and turning them over and asking, how does it feel for me, and is it true to me? Another big shift that I really did not expect was how much more I value integration over information. So in the beginning, I guess I thought I'd be learning and teaching. I don't know if teaching is the right word, because I'm not an expert by any means, but I thought I would be learning more card meanings and techniques and systems to then relay to the masses here. And I definitely have, but what has really changed is my outlook on what it means to have a personal practice. I've learned to be okay with not rushing, with having to circle back over and over again, and with living in the questions that we ask. It's also made me more accountable. I have a sense of responsibility as a creator in this space, but also for myself and the deeper relationship that I'm building with myself, the world, and my practice. That probably was there, just was buried before. So I'm a little bit more accountable now for myself, first and foremost, but also as a responsibility as a creator, sharing their voice and ideas and thoughts and opinions in this space, making it feel like a home for others. And yeah, so I hope that helped answer your question. So yay, we've made it to the part that I'm sure has been long awaited. So as a big thank you for being part of this community, I'm giving away a truly special deck that I've spoken about with love and reverence. It is an indie deck, it is out of print, but that's not truly what matters. This deck has been such a meaningful part of my own journey, and I couldn't think of a better deck to gift here in this giveaway as a big thank you to this community, to my subscribers, to everyone who watches, likes, comments, subscribes, not only here but on my Substack and follows me on Instagram, just supporting me along the way. And I really want this deck to find a nice special home, and I know my subscribers are really, really wonderful. So the deck that I'm talking about is TarotBot, and it's hard to showcase it because this is a sealed brand new copy. It's a deck by Michael Murdoch. It is out of print, so this is the copy here that I will be sending, but I pulled out some cards from my own personal TarotBot just to kind of showcase some of my favorite cards here while I speak about the giveaway. To enter, you just have to do two things. Leave a comment on this video with the terms 1 year, and I'll put that here in all caps, 1 year, and then answer this question. What's something tarot or oracle has helped you with this year? That's all you have to do to be entered to win. This giveaway is open internationally. I want to do that for all my overseas supporters. It's internationally. And it will be open for 1 week from today. So it closes on Sunday, August 17th. So 1 week from the posting of this video, leave a comment with 1 year in all caps and answer this question. What's something tarot or oracle has helped you with this year? After a week, I'll reply to and pin the winning comment. I will also do a YouTube community post on it, and the winner will have 72 hours to contact me via email, which is always in the descriptions of my video and on my channel page, or to DM me on Instagram to claim the deck. Thank you all so much for being here and for making this first year truly so special, and my 100th video. Thank you for hanging in there with me, as I know this was a longer video than my normal. And until next time, see you around.